the top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. According to presidential spokesman Harry Roque, there is no reason for President Duterte to apologize to Vice President Leni Robredo over his recent tirade. Roque added that the president has the right to vent his dismay and that the president's outburst cannot be considered as unpresidential. Our Malacanang senior news correspondent, Jeneline Cabiling, has the details.
President Duterte is not about to apologize to Vice President Leni Robredo over his recent tirade since he has done nothing wrong. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said the president had the right to vent his dismay with Robredo, who supposedly acted as if she was in charge of the government's typhoon relief operations. Roque added the president's outburst against Robredo cannot be considered unpresidential. In today's palace press briefing, Roque showed tweets of the vice president that seemingly made it appear Robredo was in charge of relief and rescue efforts during the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses.
Ang konteksto po niyan, yung nagte-trending na nasaan si Presidente. Pero napakadami pong tweet ni Vice President na para bagang siya yung in charge sa relief operation. Tingnan niyo po ito. Siya daw ang nagpa-deploy ng air assets. Tapos siya yung nagre-report kung ano nangyayari sa Cagayan. No? Ang punto, sabi nga ng Presidente, siyempre re-respetuhin ng Vice President dahil Vice President siya. Pero lahat po yan naka-preposition. Lahat po yan, bago pa dumating ang bagyo, pinulong na po ni Presidente at alam na nila ang gagawin. Natural, hindi ka naman po pwedeng baliwalain dahil meron ka rin posisyon sa gobyerno, pero mali naman yung impresyon na binigay natin na kung hindi dahil kay Vice President, baka hindi gumalaw itong mga ito. Hindi po. Yun lang po ang punot dulo nitong kontrobersya nito.
Asked if the president's tirade against Robredo was a sign of insecurity, Roque defended Duterte and argued the chief executive merely expressed his sentiment about those criticizing his supposed absence during the calamity. On whether Duterte's remarks against Robredo were unpresidential, Roque explained the chief executive was simply being himself in giving his opinion on the matter.
Hindi naman sinabi ni Presidente na pinalabas niya ng ilang lang C-130 dala-dala ni VP Leni. Bakit siya makihingi ng abiso? Humingi na ng abiso yung mga nagsabi noon. Si Secretary Lorenzana at saka si Secretary Panelo. Dapat silang humingi kung sila yung nagkamali dahil sila ang nagkamali pero hindi po ang Presidente. Bakit naman hihingi ng abiso ang Presidente na wala siyang pagkakamali?
On Tuesday, the president slammed Robredo for alleged grandstanding and lying to the people when the disaster struck the country last week. For MB Now, this is Jen Cabiling reporting.
The country recorded a lower death toll of Typhoon Ulysses compared to Typhoon Ondoy, partly due to the government's better disaster response and relief efforts. President Rodrigo Duterte mentioned a much lower fatality count after expressing satisfaction with the government's efforts to provide relief aid to people after the typhoon wreaked havoc on many parts of Luzon last week. Duterte attributed the government's improved disaster response due to the acquisition of assets enhancing the capability of the country's Coast Guard. He said government personnel and equipment were deployed to save lives 2 to 3 days before the landfall of the typhoon. In the same meeting with the President, Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año also defended the government's adequate preparedness for the typhoon, citing the casualty count of Ulysses as lower than Ondoy's. As of Tuesday, Año said 73 people died while 19 others were missing when Ulysses unleashed its heavy rains and winds in many parts of Luzon. More than 3 million people were affected by the typhoon, while billions of pesos worth of damage to agriculture and infrastructure were reported. In 2009, Ondoy hit the capital region and other areas in Luzon with heavy rainfall that included massive flooding. The storm claimed the lives of 464 people.
despite of its fury, we were able to manage. Hindi naman, I know that it leaves a bad taste in the mouth to say that minimal ang namatay. Pero hindi kaya ng undoy. Ngayon, medyo and because we have a better, marami na kasi tayong, we have been buying ang Coast Guard, sige bilhin ng itong mga rubber boats. And they were the ones that were deployed.
Senator Christopher Bongo today pushed for the passage of his mandatory evacuation bill as he lauded the call of President Duterte for the construction of permanent evacuation centers. The president made the call as the Department of Interior and Local Government noted the lack of such infrastructure to shelter vulnerable Filipinos in times of calamities and natural disasters. Duterte wanted such evacuation facilities to be complete with amenities as he renewed his call for the passage of Senate Bill 1228, which provides for the establishment of an evacuation center in every city, municipality, and province throughout the country. The bill also provides for the minimum requirements for every evacuation center, such as its location, amenities and accessibility, operation and management, among others. As for its appropriation, the construction and maintenance of evacuation centers under the measure will be sourced from a portion of the general appropriations for the Department of Public Works and Highways. 2 months after slamming Western pharmaceutical companies for seeking advance payments for COVID-19 vaccines, President Duterte has allowed the government to do exactly that in order to secure vaccines for Filipinos. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque made the announcement following reports that the vaccine being developed by Pfizer is 95% effective against the said respiratory illness. In his Thursday presser, presidential spokesman Harry Roque said President Duterte did not want the country to be left behind. According to Roque, the president changed his mind about rejecting companies that seek advance payments after seeing the list of countries that paid in advance. The palace official reiterated that the government will make the advance payments as long as there are funds for it because the country needs the vaccine. In September this year, President Duterte said he will not spend a single peso to pay a reservation fee to pharmaceutical companies that have yet to develop a vaccine for COVID-19, saying it is against the country's procurement laws. But eventually, the president seems ready to give in to the requirements of pharmaceutical companies just to assure that Filipinos will not be left behind in procuring the vaccine against COVID-19.
So medyo pumayag na po tayo na magkakaroon po tayo ng advance. Kasi kapag hindi po tayo pumayag, baka makunglela tayo dun sa mga bansa na makakakuha ng vaccine. So alam ko po, nung una ayaw ni Presidente yan, pero nung nakita po niya yung listahan ng mga bansang nag-a-advance payment, hindi naman tayo magpapahuli, no? Basta meron naman tayong pondo. Kung kailangan ibenta ang mga are-are ng gobyerno, gagawin niya yan. Pero dahil nga, importanteng masiguro na meron po tayong bakuna, pumayag na po siya nung mga tinatawag na advance payments.
In Metro News, UST Student Councils joint call for academic ease. And Quezon City's second largest high school to receive early Christmas gifts. More from this report.
Student councils from the University of Santo Tomas joined calls for nationwide academic ease amid the devastation caused by Typhoon Ulysses. In a statement, UST said students, especially those living in far-flung areas, must prioritize their struggles and well-being above their academic load. The student councils also demand for nationwide academic ease and safe back-to-school policies until the floods have subsided and until students along with their families are safe and equipped to handle remote means of learning. Earlier, students from the De La Salle University and the Ateneo de Manila University likewise appealed for academic break following the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses. The University of the Philippines faculty, meanwhile, urged the UP administration to immediately end the semester amid COVID-19 pandemic and the destruction caused by the recent typhoons. the Justice Cecilia Munoz Palma High School, the second most populous high school in Quezon City, will be receiving early Christmas gifts this month. With the school forced to conduct online classes due to the ongoing pandemic, the Justice Cecilia Munoz Palma Foundation has decided to donate to the school 150 computers for the teachers. This also includes assisting the school in creating better learning environment and in facilitating access to quality education and scholarship for students who mostly come from Payatas. The school currently has a student population of around 11,000 from Payatas and its neighboring communities, with families dependent on income coming from dump site scavenging, vegetable vending, housekeeping, and laundry jobs.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Naval Forces Central transports relief assistance to Catanduanes. And Galvez seeks GCQ status for Davao City despite surge in COVID-19 cases. More from this report.
The Naval Forces Central deployed the Navy vessel BRP Batak LC-299 under the Naval Task Group 50 over the weekend to transport Cebu City government's humanitarian and relief assistance to families in Catanduanes affected by Typhoon Rolly. The relief assistance was composed of a disaster response and relief team accompanied by a medical team and ambulance to augment the ongoing response in the typhoon-affected areas. It also included 500 sacks of 50 kilograms of rice to be handed over to the intended beneficiaries in coordination with the local government unit of Catanduanes. The Navy vessel LC-299 Head Commander Dexter Cagaanan, with his crew and the Cebu City Humanitarian Assistance and Relief Team, arrived in Virac Port in Catanduanes on November 14. National Task Force COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez recommended on Wednesday the reversion of Davao City to General Community Quarantine or GCQ from Modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ amid the very alarming situation brought about by the surging coronavirus disease cases. During an interagency task force on emerging infectious diseases meeting on Wednesday, Galvez said the outbreak situation in the city required a stricter quarantine classification to stem the spread of the infection. Galvez also said the local government units, including the cities of Davao and Cebu, should learn from the experiences of the cities in the National Capital Region in dealing with the crisis. Davao City was placed under ECQ from April 4 to May 15, GCQ from May 16 until June 30, and MGCQ last July 1 until the end of November.
In world news, New York closes schools as virus deaths rise. And France far from exiting partial lockdown according to its government. Let's watch this report.
New York announced Wednesday it would close school to battle the rising coronavirus infections as death rate surges. The toughened measures in America's most populous city came despite pharma giant Pfizer boosting hopes of a possible end to the pandemic by announcing improved results for its vaccine. New York's 1,800 public schools would revert to remote learning from Thursday after the city recorded a 7-day average positivity rate of 3%. U.S. states and cities are imposing a raft of new restrictions, including home confinement, the closure of indoor dining, and a limit on gatherings as cases soar across the country. France is unlikely to lift a partial coronavirus lockdown anytime soon, a government spokesman said on Wednesday, even if some restrictions may be relaxed before Christmas. According to spokesman Gabriel Attal, President Emmanuel Macron and top ministers discussed the crisis, including whether to ease some restrictions from December 1 if conditions allow it. Declines in new infections since the second nationwide lockdown began on October 30 have sparked calls from business groups to let shops open as soon as November 27 for the Black Friday sales that kick off the holiday shopping season. President Macron is expected to address the nation on the virus crisis next week, in particular on the prospects of travel and family gatherings for the fast-approaching holiday break.
In entertainment, Michael B. Jordan, star of the forthcoming spy thriller Without Remorse, has been named the sexiest man alive for 2020 in People magazine's special double issue for November. Jordan's career blossomed in 2010 when he starred in one action movie after another. Jordan played Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in Marvel's Fantastic Four, and then Adonis Donnie Creed, the son of boxer Apollo Creed, in the Rocky sequel Creed, and his entry point at the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Eric Killmonger. Jordan joins the league of Dwayne Johnson, Chris Hemsworth, Adam Levine, Blake Shelton, Ryan Reynolds, among others, who were also voted sexiest men alive the past years. And in sports, Team Lakay head coach Mark Sangyao sees no problems if Gina Inyong faces fellow Filipino fighter Denise Sambuanga in the circle soon. Inyong, who just gave birth to newborn daughter Gianna Rose, expressed desire to participate in the upcoming World Atomweight Grand Prix in One Championship. That will pit the 31-year-old Inyong with some of the best female contenders, including Sambuanga, who currently sits as number 1 in the division. Before pregnancy, Inyong emerged victorious in her latest fight in January against Asha Roque of India to improve at 9-4 record. Sambuanga, meanwhile, went undefeated in 5 fights since starting her professional mixed martial arts career in 2018. After 3 straight wins in One Championship, the 23-year-old Sambuanga climbed up to being the number 1 atomweight contender next to reigning champion Angela Lee. But for the Team Lakay mentor, Sambuanga of the Marok Force still has a long way to go. The first round of the Atomweight Grand Prix is set early next year, and the ultimate winner gets a chance to face Lee for the prestigious belts. And those are the news on Web today, November 19, 2020. It's 36 days before Christmas. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph, or you may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.